Hey guys, Dan here, and we've got Tim back with us for part two of the broadcast premiere shows for the fall. 11 total thus far. And in a week or two, I'll do the George Lopez that premieres on NBC. The only comedy of it all. So a lot of CWs. CW, I know you. It's one of your networks. This is number one fan.
I'm not the number one fan. I do.
Did you do the Arrowverse at all?
I did do some of the Arrowverse. Okay. But then it just got too much.
Yeah, well, because you had to follow. It's like but with Rookie, it's like the Rookie times 8. Yeah. Like you had to follow, every single episode of every show. It got
me in that, because they had a crossover every year.
At least one.
I enjoyed the first couple seasons of Arrow. I thought it was good, and then I kind of phased out of it, and then everybody was like, "Oh, Flash is really good," so I started watching Flash.
That's the one I got into. I watched about 2/3 of a season of that.
And then they were like, "Oh, there's a crossover," so I had to catch up on Arrow, and then Supergirl, I watched a season of that.
Okay. Well, the first season wasn't even on the CW.
No, it was CBS.
The CBS year. I watched that as well.
And then I eventually just
it's too hard to keep track, and now I guess all of them are over, right? Or is Arrow still on?
No, Arrow's done. Supergirl's done.
Right. One of the spin-offs. What was it called? I don't know.
The time travel one where it was all of them, that's done. I think Flash is on its final season now.
Oh, I think you're right. Okay.
And then they have the Lois and Clark one. Not Lois.
Oh, I guess that's true. Super.
I don't know.
What is that called? I forget. Superman, I gave it a pretty good rating. I think it is Superman and Lois. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I forgot that's part of the Arrowverse too, technically.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so CW is mostly that, or these shows that they've acquired from other places. We're going to talk about two of those today with Family Law and, what's it called? Powerless or something?
Professionals.
The Professionals. Although Powerless you can watch, by the way, on the CW. That's that show with Alan Tudyk and Danny Putty. That's on the CW feed. I watched all of my CW shows, by the way, on the CW app. You can watch their new shows for free. There's no subscription, so I will give them that. So we're going to talk about the Supernatural spinoff, The Winchesters.
Yes.
The Walker prequel. These are both prequels, really. Walker Independence. Yes. So both sort of supernatural in relation, because Jared Padalecki plays Walker in the new Walker series. Those other two acquired ones we just mentioned. And then first we're going to talk about the non-CW show, which is Alaska Daily. I've been excited about this for a long time because I love Hilary Swank. Yeah. And I was seeing all the commercials. I usually watch a lot of ABC programs on Hulu, so they throw the ABC ads up. So this is Hilary Swank in, is this maybe her first television regular role?
I looked her up. She was on something called Trust, which was 10 episodes or something like that.
Okay.
A limited series. I don't remember. It was
I don't remember that either. Okay.
I don't know what channel it was either.
Oh, you know what? Wait. Was she the woman in Away on Netflix, that space show? She might have been. Okay. All right. So there you go. But as far as network, I think this might be it. Yeah. So she plays this woman, Eileen, who starts out in New York as this big journalist, but she has some issues with the editors and not sort of printing the news as it is, and so she ends up moving to Alaska from her old buddy Jeff Perry. Plays Stanley Cornick. He is one of her former bosses, and we know him from Scandal and many other things. And so she is trying to get a clean start there, working for this Alaska Daily, but she wants people to do things her way there as well, and gets into some issues with the police and whatever. But mostly this is, at least the first few episodes, I don't know if the whole season is about this or the whole series, moving on, but about these indigenous women and the issues with them, specifically being marginalized and all of that. So, and murdered. So yeah, like I said, big fan. This comes from the guy that did Spotlight. Okay. So he's got a newspaper history. I looked him up, Thomas McCarthy, but he's done a lot of non-newspaper things too. He worked on The Wire, Boston Public. He did some Law and Order, and he also was one of the producers on Meet the Parents. So he kind of well-rounded, but this certainly is in the spotlight wheelhouse. We get in the first episode, one of my negatives of the show is in that first episode, it's almost pushing too much for the like local journalism PSA thing. She has a big speech at the end of the first episode. And, oh, this is why local journalism is so important. Da 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 da. But this is very much in like the Sorkin vein of the. I didn't watch the Newsroom, but I imagine it's sort of similar. Maybe did you see the Newsroom? Okay, but I imagine it's sort of like similar in the, and you know that was a TV show. This is, I think, this is a newspaper, obviously, but yeah, they're doing a lot of like the walk and talk kind of stuff. They're doing the big heavy speeches. But I really like this show. Swank always gives us commanding performances. It's funny. I've never actually seen her 2 Oscar-winning performances, but whenever she pops up, I love her. And yeah, I thought this was hard-hitting. You could say a little bit maybe that it's kind of like white saviory in the sense of like this woman just coming in and saying, okay, I'm going to do everything my way, to hell with you people, whatever. I don't want to play by your rules. You have to play by mine. I'm not sure how much I love that aspect of it, but clearly she's getting the job done, at least in these first couple episodes. So yeah, this for me was an enjoyable one. And I forget what we did last time. Do I give a grade before I talk to you, or
no, I think we did grade.
We do it separate? Okay, all right. Well, I like this one.
I got a lot of Spotlight vibes. I felt like it was like Spotlight with a little bit of what was that Wind River movie with?
Oh yeah, with Jeremy Renner.
Yeah.
That was about the same sort of subject matter.
Yeah. So I felt like it was like a combination of those 2 movies. I do think the performances are really well. The second episode, there are a lot of characters in the Newsroom that they're branching out and you're learning about, but it's like you're not really getting much from them. So
there's a lot of characters, other than a couple of like quips here or there. Yeah. There's only really about maybe 4 that they focus in on at all, more than hello or and get my coffee.
I thought the end of the first one was dealing with her panic attacks. I don't think they really dove that much into it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I don't like that aspect of it.
They didn't delve into it in the second episode really at all.
Okay.
That throwaway line.
That's true. Right.
So there are some things that I'm not enjoying that much about it, because that stuff, like the white savior thing, seems a little bit. She can be a real bee. And rubs a lot of people the wrong way.
Which, as the audience member, I'm like, oh yeah, go. But then you think about it, you're like, yeah, but you just got here and you're telling them, how to change their everything.
And that's why she was on the outs in New York. You'd think that she would
learn the lesson
a little bit. So maybe we'll get some change of her character, make her a little bit more endearing, because I feel like that's missing in her character. Like you want to root for her because of the story that she's uncovering. Right. I feel like you're missing rooting for her as a person.
I think that's fair.
Right?
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. And we've seen a lot lately, certainly in broadcast dramas, I think too, of the strong woman outsider. We just talked about it with East New York. I mean, really Rookie Feds, I guess, too. But All Rise, and it's definitely a recurring theme.
But the East New York, she's tough,
really she's likable.
But she's likable.
Yeah.
I think that's why they put this panic attack things in the first episode, to make her somewhat relatable. If you didn't have that flaw, then you'd be like, oh man, she's just a real beast.
Yeah. But I didn't like that part, because do we need that right now?
I don't think you need it.
I don't think you need it, really.
I think that's why they put it in there.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
But I did enjoy it for what it was. It is probably one of the higher ones of this week. And I leave it with a B+.
It's a B+ for me too. Yeah. I think this in East New York so far are my favorites of the season. Although there may be one other one, or maybe even 2 that come mildly close to that as we get to the CW shows.
Yeah. So,
but Winchesters.
Yeah. So this is Alaska Day.
Alaska Day.
Like we said, it's Thursdays on ABC. There's 3 episodes currently up. Another one coming tomorrow on the day that we record this. So
yes.
I don't know where.
Yeah, I'll put this up over the weekend, so that'll be up.
So there'll be 4
by now.
episodes by then.
So what's their Thursday? Must be what? Grey's Station 19 and this.
Yeah,
that's all right. That's a pretty powerful lineup. All right, so the CW Supernatural. I reported on this like a year ago. There was a big brouhaha because Jared Padalecki didn't know anything about it, and blah blah blah. But we have the Winchesters, and Tim's going to tell us about that.
Yeah, so the Winchesters, it's on Tuesdays on the CW. By the time, right now, the 3rd episode just went up yesterday, probably. It was Tuesdays.
Last night, yeah.
So this tells the untold love story between John and Mary Winchester, which was Sam and Dean's parents from Supernatural. How they met, how they fall in love, all while hunting the demons and monsters that lurk in the shadows. So cast-wise, you have Meg Donnelly. She plays Mary Campbell, who will be Mary Winchester at some point. Her TV history, she was one of the daughters, I guess, in American Housewife. And then
hated that show.
And so she was on that for a long time, and then she's on the Disney Zombies like
people do. I didn't watch that, but people do like those. Okay,
I guess there's 3 movies.
There's a few of them. Yeah. Okay.
But she was on that. And then you have Drake Roger. He plays John Winchester. He has like no.
I was gonna say he seems completely new.
He's a new.
Yeah.
And then you have some other people here and there. I didn't write down anybody.
I don't recognize anybody from this show.
And then who plays? It wasn't Padalecki. It's the other one.
Yeah, the narrator is Jensen Ackles.
Jensen Ackles.
Dean Winchester.
So he's the narrator. He played.
And I don't know if they pitched his voice down at all, but he sounds a lot like Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who is the grown-up version of the father.
No, I feel like it was.
Do you think it sounds like him?
It just sounds like, because he's the narrator. He's the narrator as himself.
No, I know that, but I mean, I haven't watched Supernatural in a long time, so maybe his voice is just that aged now. Yeah. But when I heard the voiceover, it took me a second. I was like, wait, I thought this was Jensen, but it sounds like Jeffrey Dean Morgan to me. I think they maybe were trying to play a little bit with that.
I just think that's why they had Jeffrey Dean Morgan as the dad in the first one.
Because they kind of sound alike? Yeah, maybe.
So, my history with Supernatural is I probably watched maybe the first 3 seasons. And I was watching it, not live. I was watching it through, Netflix DVDs and stuff like that.
I saw it on DVD as well.
I was a little late to the game. And then it got a little repetitive. And then it was, what is this? TNT staple where they would show, 5 or 6 episodes in the middle of the day type of thing.
Yeah.
And when I would paint stuff, I would just have the TV on. So every now and then I would just
have a binge.
I have a binge of Supernatural. Because it was it's kind of
it's always on. You don't need to pay attention. Yeah, right.
But I thought it was okay. I thought it ran for way too long.
Yeah, 15 seasons for most shows is a long time, but yikes.
But they played with different demons and angels and all this other stuff. So your first episode you're dealing with demons in the Winchesters, and the second one you're just dealing with some weird monster or something like that. I thought the pilot episode was pretty good for a Supernatural show. I thought it reminded me a lot of the first couple seasons of Supernatural. I thought the second one was decent with the character development of the 2 leads, and that they have a ragtag, kind of like a Scooby.
Yeah, they do.
Scooby gang with them. You get
assembled very quickly too.
You get a little bit more development with that. You have someone playing his mom. You get a little bit more development with that. I just thought the monster for the second one wasn't really that intriguing.
Yeah.
I thought they could have picked a different one, but at the end there's this kind of mystery behind it, because there's also a mystery of Meg's looking for her dad, kind of how the Winchesters were looking for their dad in the first one. So it's kind of a copy paste of Supernatural. So I think if you are a Supernatural fan, if you're one of those diehard fans that watched all 15 seasons, you will like this. This is very cut and paste, copy and paste of Supernatural.
Yeah, I agree.
I thought the storytelling was okay, and it was well produced.
How did you feel about the lead actor, though, playing the dad, John Winchester?
I thought he was fine.
Okay.
For someone that I don't know anything about, I thought for the probably the strength of the show, I thought that the two leads have great chemistry between the two of them, and that's probably the strength of the show.
Yeah, I can agree that there's good chemistry, and I think the actor's okay. My issue, I think, is that I find his character boring. I don't really care anything about him yet, and maybe that will change as we go on. And of course, I don't have the history of, who this character is. I watched the first 2 seasons of Supernatural, and that's really all I've ever seen. Which Jeffrey Dean Morgan was in the first season heavily. So, right, like you said, for the diehard fans of the show, which God knows there's plenty out there. I think this will probably, maybe fill some gaps for them in the history of the characters and da-da-da-da-da. But because I'm not invested in sort of the Winchester history, I found the character a bit underwritten. And maybe if I was a fan, I would know other things or whatever, or piece things together. So far, and I say so far as if I'm going to watch more, but I'm just not that invested in him as a character. Now, the Mary father thing, that I liked. And I liked how they did that.
I think they kind of twisted it a little bit because, the dad from Supernatural, he was, this gruff kind of,
right.
mystery behind him, but he was, this amazing hunter type character. That's what they...
So now it's she's the great hunter.
Yeah, so I thought that was a good...
Yeah.
Because, going into it, I'd be like, oh... He comes in, he's the hunter,
right?
But he's the one that's completely
maybe that's what's rubbing me the wrong way.
Completely underwear
right,
of
maybe.
the monster stuff. So he's the newbie. So I thought that was a good twist for it.
I guess you're right about that. Maybe that's what's rubbing me the wrong way, though. He seems inept,
yes,
and useless, and why is she? I do agree, there's good chemistry,
yeah.
But I'm why is this girl even falling for him? He's a dum-dum.
Well,
he's handsome and everything. I get it.
He's handsome and he's handling his own, and he's...
Have you heard who's going to be playing the father? Mary's father?
No, I haven't.
It's the old CW favorite Tom Welling.
Oh.
From, what was that? The Superman, Smallville.
And also Professionals.
Yes, and the Professionals, which we'll talk about shortly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So great for Winchesters.
Yeah. I didn't like it.
Okay.
But I'm not the target audience. I'm not a Supernatural person. Yeah. So for me, I think because there's some decent fight scenes, I do like the chemistry. I'm gonna give it a C+.
Oh, I just gave it a regular C. I thought it was
a little less than me. I was giving a benefit of the doubt, I guess.
I thought it was perfectly adequate.
Yeah.
I mean, but also that's me. I'm not a huge diehard for an average average TV goer. I think it's a C. If you're a Supernatural fan, I think it'd be higher. I think it's probably somewhere in the B range for you guys.
Yeah, I would think so. I would think they would like it more than us. Yeah. For me personally, it's probably more of a C minus, but for the benefit of the doubt, I'll give it a C+. All right. So next is the other CW prequel, Walker Independence, and this of course has some Supernatural, not elements necessarily to the show, but casting wise, of course, the new Walker show has Jared Padalecki on it, so he is listed as one of the executive producers here. And I believe it airs back to back with Walker. I don't know what night it is. You always have that. Thursdays. So you can watch Walker Independence, and then you turn on ABC for Alaska Daily. Yeah. So this is set in the late 1800s. So we're talking a couple of generations before the Padalecki version. And I can't remember from my own review of the original Walker, is Padalecki supposed to be of a version of the Chuck Norris Walker, or it's a completely different timeline? I can't remember.
I've never seen
and you didn't see it, so
that, and I've only seen a couple episodes of.
So I can't remember exactly whether the Chuck Norris Walker exists sort of in this universe or not. But anyway, so this follows Abby Walker, who is played by Catherine McNamara, who I don't know from much, but she was on The Stand, that Stephen King miniseries, which I saw a little bit of. But she's most known perhaps for a show called Shadowhunters, which I did not watch. Was that CW?
No, that was ABC Family.
Okay. Or
Freeform
Freeform now.
But she was in the later seasons. I didn't know this, but she was in the later seasons of Arrow.
Oh, all right. So she's got a little bit of a CW following there with the Arrow. So anyway, her husband is murdered soon into the first episode, and they're heading out west when that happens. So she's like, okay, well, got to get to the bottom of this. She ends up in Independence, Texas, and is going to set up shop and try and figure out what happened to her husband. You've got other people in this, like Matt Barr, who I don't really recognize. But Kate Finlay, who is my favorite character, she plays Kate Carver here. She was in How to Get Away with Murder and a couple other things. I don't really recognize anybody else from this. I don't know if you have notes on these people.
Matt Barr, he was on Blood and Treasure, which was a...
Oh, yeah. Okay, I reviewed that. Yeah. It was okay, I guess. CBS, I think.
Lasted, I think, 2 seasons or something like that.
Yeah, sounds about right. This is obviously CW's attempt at sort of cashing in on the popularity of Yellowstone and 1883 and all of these sort of current Western things. What exactly sets this apart from that kind of stuff? I would say the acting probably is not up to par with, the Costners and the great people they get on those shows. I think that's to be expected here with the CW. However, in the second episode, where we get a little more sort of like the Winchesters, we get a little more with the background characters. Yeah. We get, and that's when this Kate Finlay, I really was like, okay, this character I really like. She's a ball buster, getting things done. But the whole kind of dynamic is interesting because in the first episode, not to give too many things away, but there's like a bank robbery, and then we're sort of following the different characters with that, and who's sort of working for whom and whatever. I think that's an interesting dynamic. But yeah, I'm not sure why, other than sort of the loose Walker connection, the typical CW audience is watching this. Nobody's particularly like young and hot. Like everybody's okay looking, they're fine. Yeah. But in the Winchesters, you've got some hotties, and in most of their other youth-oriented shows, got the hotties. This seems like it wants to go for the youth market because of the Walker connection. But people only watch Walker, I guess, because of Padalecki, not because of the Walker history. Yeah, but
I feel like the leads of this are probably the same age as Padalecki. Like,
I know Padalecki's so old now, but he still looks like he's 20.
I know,
but you're right. He's probably in his mid-40s at this point. And he's probably about my age.
The leads aren't unattractive.
No, they're not. They're fine.
But they're in the Western, so they're always dirty.
Yes, they're dirty. Yeah. So, look, I've actually been going through some like history of television type things. I've watched in the last month a bunch of episodes of the old Lone Ranger show and Hop Along Cassidy, and I will say we've certainly come a long way in the language that we're using and all of that. Nobody's calling anyone Injuns or anything like that. So look, it's a fun show to look at. I'm sort of intrigued by the premise. I don't love that it's maybe going to be a through line. I want some less serialized shows that I can just, turn on. Okay, this episode is self-contained, then we go to the next episode. Because the whole bank heist and the whole relationships with everybody seems like it's going to be a big through line, which is okay. But, I don't know. I think this is okay. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. Pales in comparison to the other popular Westerns of today. I leave it with a C+.
Okay, well, I didn't say anything about it, but...
Oh, sorry. Tell me all about it.
I will say that I think the leads do have good chemistry between them. I do like there is a Native American actor playing like Kalen is the she befriends a Native American who's a Comanche, and it's like he agrees to help her with this quest for vengeance, which is the through line. I think the through line kind of works for this type of show. I think it would be a little bit different if there was like like weekly case that they have to do or something.
Yeah, I like that.
There isn't a monster of a week like the Winchesters. Like the Winchesters going to have a monster of a week with
yes.
a little bit of through line between it.
Right.
Whereas this is very heavy on the through line.
Yeah.
I do agree that the other people of Independence, Texas, you're getting a little bit more. It seems like everybody has like some mystery behind it. So I think that's what's working for it. And for a Western, I think it's an adequate Western. It's a more typical Western than like Yellowstone. I think that's more of a
yeah.
I feel like that's more of a modern Western, but this is like something that you would get like, I don't know, like Hell on Wheels type of thing.
Okay.
But that's a little bit better quality. This is,
this is
a CW Western movie show, and I think it's adequate. I also give it a C+.
Okay. So Family Law is next. You're going to tell us about that. This is one of the imports. This came from Canada. Yeah. And there's already, I think, at least 2 full seasons that exist of this show.
Yes, and it got picked up for a third.
Okay, so, and it airs, I guess, maybe on the CBC or something, but we're getting it here for the first time, so I think there's, 4 episodes out maybe so far?
4 episodes, because it's a Sunday show. So when you put this up this weekend, there'll probably be 5.
Yes.
It's Sundays on CW. Family Law, you have Abigail Benaki, or something like that, is a disgraced lawyer on probation, and the only person willing to give her a job is her estranged father, who runs a family law practice with his other children in Vancouver. Abigail struggles to make things work with her father and her unknown siblings because she's estranged from them as well. And all the while, she tries to attempt to repair her own relationship with her own husband and children. Your cast-wise, you have Jewel State. She plays Abigail. You'll know her from Firefly. She also was in like the later seasons of Stargate Atlantis. She's on a lot of one-episode TV shows. Even as a child actor, she was on like Flash Forward for a couple seasons.
Oh, okay.
And Space Cases, which is like a super early like, show. So she's had a long career in television. And next week,
all sci-fi. It seems like.
Yeah, I guess.
Except for this.
Flash Forward, I don't think was a sci-fi show.
Oh, was it? I never saw it, but just the name, I was thinking like time travel.
And
or something.
Then even like next week, she's on like next week's episode of Quantum Leap. So
all right.
So
she's getting around.
Yeah, she's
yeah, I knew I recognized the name, and I guess I sort of recognized her, but I didn't know from what.
So then you also have Victor Garber. He plays Harry Svensson, her father. People know him from TV shows like Alias and Eli Stone. You probably know him from Titanic.
Mr. Andrews, of course, Titanic.
Then you also have Lauren Holly, plays her mom.
That's who that was.
Yeah.
She looked so familiar, and I didn't look her up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So her television.
I haven't seen her in years.
Her television credits are Motive. She was like in 3 seasons of Motive, or 4 seasons, and then she was also in 5 seasons of NCIS.
Picket Fences too. That was like one of her early shows.
Movie people probably know her from Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
And then everybody else on this, her other siblings, I don't know them.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Either.
So the concept is like Victor Garber had 3 kids with 3 different women. 2 of them are like kind of friendly with each other, and they work at his law office. One of them is like a psychologist that like works in tandem with it, and she comes in there like kind of like the odd person out.
Yeah. Well, she's a bit disgraced.
Yeah, disgraced
from alcohol problems.
Her marriage is on the rocks. Her kids don't like her, or her daughter doesn't like her.
She became sort of a viral meme for an embarrassing incident. So her daughter's like hates her for that.
Yeah. I think this works really well. All the law aspects. If you like law shows, has that galore. You have cases of the week type of thing, and there's a lot of juicy type of plot devices between the families of her, like kind of getting the approval of her father and fixing things with her own children. And then I think the cases were kind of interesting as well. I forget what the first one was.
The first one was the child. They were going to take the child away, and she was like relating it to her own.
Okay.
They were really both child cases, really.
And the second one was
mentally challenged people.
Down syndrome people.
Down syndrome,
having a baby, and they were taking the child away from them.
Yeah.
So I thought that was good. And I think that the acting is really well. I mean, Victor Garber is a great actor, and I think Jewel Staite is a fabulous actress. She's a minor character in not minor character. She's a supporting character.
That's a Firefly shirt, right?
Yeah,
is that okay?
Yeah, Firefly shirt. She's a ensemble character of Firefly, but she's the lead of this show. And
yep,
she carries it well.
Yeah, I mean, I can't agree more. I mean, I find my favorite shows on the CW lately are sort of the imports. Because they don't have that CW feel to them.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily trying to appeal to a certain demographic. They're more like you could plop this on CBS or ABC and it would be the same show. I actually wish more networks would do that because I liked that Transplant on NBC that got picked up from Canada as well. But yeah, this has everything that you kind of mentioned. The cases are interesting. They really set everything up right away. I mean, it's very, in that first scene, you see her stumbling into court drunk, she pukes, and then, before the credits even roll, you find out, okay, the reason this is called family law is not just because that's what they practice, like, that's what they are, and it goes from there. But, I like all of the characters. I mean, in terms of, they're not all good characters, but like they're all written well.
Yeah.
And I like how they all sort of gel together. I do think maybe people are a little bit hard on her. And I know that's the point, but she already has my sympathy. Like, it's not like Swank where you need the extra push there to sympathize. I already felt bad for her that she was such a mess and the kids got taken away and everything. So we're compounding that with the Victor Garber stuff. I don't know her too well, like I said, but I think she does a great job. I wouldn't say necessarily carrying the show because it is very much an ensemble, but I do think from a legal perspective, I think it makes more sense than one of the shows we talked about before, So Help Me Todd. I don't necessarily think that Victor Garber would have actually let her stand up and do the cross-examination in that one episode. Yeah. But okay, whatever. She had to prove how great she was. We get it. This for me is one of the best of the year so far.
Yeah,
of the new broadcast shows.
I think they have some humor in there as well.
Mm-hmm. A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Certainly
with
her kids and stuff like that.
The whole dog and the one episode.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a good balance as well.
Yeah, I do as well. I think you've graded many of them first. Let's hear your grade for Family Law.
I give it a B+.
Yeah, it's a B+ for me as well. So far, that's sort of the bar. East New York for me was a B+. Alaska Daily and this, I think are the best of the broadcast shows so far for the fall. Because next we're going to talk about The Professionals, and that is not part of that list. But this is, I was surprised to see Brendan Fraser in this.
Yeah.
This is another import, but not from Canada.
No.
I don't know where this is from.
I think it was filmed in
but it was filmed years ago.
It
was filmed long before all his adoration currently for The Whale. And I have a feeling that because of that, and because he is on all these memes now and sort of is enjoying a nice career resurgence, I feel like that's why the CW picked this show up.
Maybe.
Because I can't think of too many other reasons why, which I'll get to. But basically, this is about this medical satellite explodes on deployment. So Peter Swan, who's a billionaire tech guy, and his fiance are turned into a hardened former, what does this say? Counterintelligence officer. I don't know that reads correctly, to be honest.
They turn to.
Okay. But listen, not a lot about this show makes sense, so it's okay that my description does not. So Tom Welling, like you mentioned earlier, is in this. He's sort of the co-star in this, playing this Vincent Corbo. But Brendan Fraser plays Peter Swan, and he's, I think, in the first scene giving this big speech. Look, I like Brendan Fraser.
Yep.
I think we all do. He's one of America's treasures. This show is so bad on so many levels. First of all, it's shot horribly. To save money, the producers shot it at a lower frame rate, so it looks, to me, when I was like a kid, when PBS would run something from like England or something, it would look like this. It would look like very sort of not fluid, so it reminded me a little bit of that. So yeah, that's a cost-cutting method. But it also makes the CGI look very cheap, and there's like the rocket explosion. There's not a ton of CGI, but there's some car chases and stuff like that. The acting's okay, I guess, but the script is so bad that like it was hard to even tell. Like if I didn't know Brendan Fraser was a good actor, I'd be like, oh man, like what are these lines they're giving him? It's very, very soapy, not in a good way. There isn't really anything I liked about this show. I think it's terrible. I want to hear all the good things. Tim likes to look on the bright side.
So
I want to hear.
I will say Tom Welling and from Smallville, like you said, and Brendan Fraser, who's getting all these claims for The Whale, the Mummy movies, but he also has some TV history. He does. He's on Doom Patrol. What was that on?
I think it's on HBO, right?
HBO.
Yeah.
He
always works.
Yeah, their acting is probably the best part of this.
The best they can do with what it is.
Like the script is bad. I didn't think the CGI was that bad for the rocket exploding. I think they did do a couple interesting shots. Like I like the shot of the explosion in his eye.
I thought that was so corny.
I thought it was fine.
All right.
I mean, for what it was, I thought they were doing some interesting things. If it was just the pilot episode, I probably would have given it a better grade, because I felt like by the end of the pilot episode, it got into a little bit of action scenes and stuff like that, and you were getting like the crew together and stuff like that. You're like, oh, okay.
Finally providing some intrigue for what's to come.
And then the second episode, you go on to like
Tim, it's so bad.
For the first like 2/3 of it, they're like just like hanging out at his house, like taking showers and stuff, like, and then you finally get a little bit of action at the end.
I'm telling you what, they didn't want to pay for this show.
I don't know,
so they were just like, they did bottle episode in episode 2, like,
so the acting is adequate from those two. I think the woman who plays Grace, like, I don't know, she has like this weird accent that like it might be like
Elena Anana,
but like because of the frame rate, it almost looks like she's dubbed, but she's not.
Right.
And then
that's a good point.
And then one of the like the inspectors who has an accent as well. It's the same thing. Who's like a agent or something.
Accents are horrible too.
So Brendan Fraser and Tom Welling is probably the best part of this show.
For sure. But I feel bad for them that they're in it. Like, I'm happy that Brendan Fraser is probably going to get an Oscar nomination this year, because this cannot be his most recent thing.
Yeah, and like the potential of like this team that like that's working with Tom Welling, you're like, oh, okay, they show up at the end, and you're like, okay. And then the beginning of the second episode, he's like showing the film calls, you're like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And then it grinds to a halt for the next 30 minutes. You're like, the potential there was like there after the first episode, and then they just like gave it away. So I say this is a really bad show.
Yeah, it's an F for me. This is one of the worst of the year for sure.
I don't like to be that hard. So
I know you don't like to fail things.
I'm going to give it a D.
A D, I think, is fine. No higher than that, I don't think. This reminds me of, there was a show, and I reviewed it for this program, maybe like 2 years ago. It was CW again. It was right when the pandemic hit, and they were like acquiring all these shows, and it starred one person that was famous, and I think it might have been Patrick Dempsey, but it also might have been Dylan McDermott. I can't remember. But it was like, it was horrible like this. The accents were terrible. The story didn't make any sense.
Wasn't that David Schwimmer?
No, that was on Peacock.
Okay.
That wasn't too good either.
Okay.
That was counterintelligence or super intelligence or something like that. But yeah, that was an acquired one too. That was like one of Peacock's first launch shows. They were like, "Oh, Ross from Friends is here," and it was awful. Yeah. So, but I don't think either of them are nearly as bad as this. So yeah, one of my Fs for the year for sure. So we've got and what night is this on? Let's hear for those. Now we've talked it up so much.
It's on Tuesday nights after the Winchesters.
Wow, what a powerhouse combo. So my favorites, I already listed them off: East New York, Alaska Daily, and Family Law. For you, I would say So Help Me Todd is up there.
So Help Me Todd, I'm still watching that and enjoying that.
And then Family Law.
Family Law, and I like Alaska Daily.
Okay.
I think East New York is a good show.
Very good show.
It's not my cup of tea.
That might be high on my year-end list, Tim. I don't know.
And then I'm enjoying Quantum Leap. I'm still watching that.
Are you? Okay. Yeah, I haven't
it's fun. I like
caught up with any of the other episodes yet, or that's not true. I did watch the third Alaska or East New York. But anyway, so that's all the broadcasts. Well, not many shows this year. But we'll do Lopez versus Lopez.
That airs Fridays on NBC on November 4th.
Yes, paired with the only other comedy they still have is Young Rock. Friday is like the death zone. They put shows there to die. But nowadays it's more about the stream. No, not TGIF was big in the 80s and 90s. Yeah, it's like Saturdays used to be big in the 70s and 80s. You had Carol Burnett, then you had Golden Girls, but now Saturday's also dead, and they just air reruns pretty much. But
Friday works for CBS.
Friday with the oldsters, they've got Blue Bloods, they've got I don't know what else now.
Fire Country.
Fire Country, that's right. Oh, and ABC puts on Shark Tank, so okay, that's all right. But now it's all about the streaming numbers. So if you like this George Lopez show, if you like the Young Rock show, watch them on Peacock and get them the numbers to keep them going. But yeah, other than that, that's it probably till mid-season for broadcast, where they'll just sort of throw things in when things get canceled, and that'll be that.
Professionals will be canceled next week.
Professionals, dude, it's so bad. I can't believe you didn't fail that, but I understand you don't like to be hard.
Well, they only have 10 episodes of it, so
yeah,
maybe
they bought all 10. They're gonna play them, I bet.
Yeah.
Their ratings are so low anyway, it doesn't much matter. But I was just about to ask you, when is Crime Scene Kitchen coming back, Tim? Tell us.
I don't know.
Tim is in contact with the producers every day.
I
wish you were.
All I know
we
is
need to see it.
From what I read from interviews with Joel McHale is that he filmed the second season.
Yeah.
It's in the can.
So hopefully we see that sooner than later. We love that show. But all right, Tim, thanks for joining.
No problem.
Fun watching. Maybe we'll do this every season. Because anymore, there doesn't seem to be more than like 10 or 12 shows that the broadcast nets are putting out. So that's it.
There should be some mid-season stuff, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't come out all at once, I feel like. So it's, unless there's like a specific week in January that they premiere like 5 episodes or 5 shows or something. But all right, thank you for joining. We'll see you soon for Dan Does Disney.
Yep.
And then before too long, we'll do sort of, the Oscar stuff and all of that coming up. So, all right, everybody, we'll see you next time on Dan Reviews It. Bye.
Watch some TV.